All right, are you ready for the main event of the evening? Congressman Matt Gaetz, a Republican from Florida, we have found out, had an investigation launched by the Justice Department against him for alleged child sex trafficking. Apparently the charges are that he took underage girls across state lines and paid for their flights, their food, their lodging in exchange for sexual favors. Axios broke the story earlier in the day, yesterday, that Gaetz was thinking about resigning from Congress in order to take a job with Newsmax. Later in the day, the New York Times broke the story about sex trafficking. Gaetz goes on to Tucker Carlson, and it's a mind fuck. So Tucker, who already looks befuddled, please take it away, sir.
Just a couple of hours ago, late this afternoon, the New York Times ran a story saying that Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is under federal investigation for playing some role in sex trafficking and potentially having a relationship with...
Totally not high enough for this shit.
Very few details in major news outlets tonight about this story. We have no background on it all, and not even...
I'm glad you brought that up, Scrappy. Would you like to see a picture of Matt Gaetz? I shared one out earlier. I don't have it saved here. Let me pull it up here. He makes a lot of jokes, too. He made a joke that if he's ever in a scandal, it should be called Gaetz Gate. Definitely a weird person. We haven't even talked about Nestor. Good lunch table at Pace High School today. What? 8/16/17. Joked that if he was involved in a scandal, it would be called Gaetz Gate. Now, we haven't even got into his partner that has already been arrested for sex trafficking. His friend from down in Florida that he was involved with. And it looks like that's how the feds got tipped off to Gaetz's potential... what? Curiouser. What the fuck? You don't even... we haven't even gotten into the batshit stuff yet. Matt Gaetz is getting ready to go off the fucking deep end and say just like... He's getting ready to describe an episode of 24. And not even like the first couple of seasons of 20. We're talking like the fucking end run of 24 where nothing fucking makes sense. And there's like 7 fucking heel turns in one episode 24. Just you wait. And he's gonna implicate Tucker.
Any very informed questions. Instead, we've invited Congressman Gaetz on the show to respond to these stories and give us his view of them. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. So this is obviously a serious allegation. Tell us what the truth is from your perspective.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie. The New York Times is running a story that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman, and that is verifiably false. People can look at
17-year-old woman?
my travel records and see that that is not the case. What is happening is an extortion of me and my family involving a former Department of Justice official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official. Tonight, I am demanding that the Department of Justice and the FBI...
No. This isn't a slip. This isn't a slip. He's purposely trying to fucking out like some other investigation that's going on to try to color like... Just wait.
Release the audio recordings that were made under their supervision and at their direction, which will prove my innocence and that will show that these allegations aren't true. They're merely intended to try to bleed my family out of
His dad
money.
is also a former congressperson. Fun fact.
And this former Department of Justice official tomorrow was supposed to be contacted by my father so that specific instructions could be given regarding the wiring of $4.5 million as a down payment on this bribe. I don't think it's a coincidence that tonight, somehow, the New York Times is leaking this information, smearing me, and ruining the investigation that would likely result in one of the former colleagues of the current DOJ being brought to justice for trying to extort me and my family.
So a couple of obvious questions that come to mind, and again, just to restate, this just happened, don't have any other information beyond what we've already said and you have said. First of all, who is this Department of Justice former employee who's trying to extort the money from you, you say?
His name is David McGee. He was a top official in the leadership in the Northern District of Florida as a prosecutor. He currently works at the...
Now, apparently it came out today that, like, David McGee is nowhere involved with anything in where he could have extorted Matt Gaetz. And that David McGee laughed about it and said, I guess Matt Gaetz is getting ready to get indicted for child sex trafficking.
Eggs and Lane law firm. As a matter of fact, one of the recordings that was made at the FBI and Department of Justice request occurred at that law firm, and the money that was supposed to be paid today that would have shown even more evidence of David McGee's work in this extortion scheme, that was foiled by the New York Times story, and I believe that's why this horrible information and these terrible allegations have been used this evening.
So you're, and I'll get to the investigation in a second, but you're saying that David McGee was motivated by greed. He was trying to extort money from your family. That's his motivation, you're saying?
I know that there was a demand for money in exchange for a commitment that he could make this investigation go away along with his co-conspirators. They even claim to have specific connections inside the Biden White House. Now, I don't know if that's true. They were promising that Joe Biden would pardon me. Obviously, I don't need a pardon. I'm not seeking a pardon. I have not done anything improper.
Now, remember, this investigation didn't start under the Biden administration. We need to make that completely clear. This started under Trump back in like November or October. So that doesn't make any fucking sense that some Biden administration official had anything to do with this. Why did he himself stay quiet until now? Well, I guess his argument is like they were trying to do this sting with the FBI, that they were going to catch the real bad guys. This, like, I mean, he's smart. This kind of plays into the QAnon thing, right? It's going to give them some sort of way they're going to be able to flip this around and say like, oh, it's all part of the plan. Matt Gaetz was in on it. He was trying to catch the bad guys.
Proper or wrong. But what I am troubled by is the real motivation for all of this. You know, just tonight,
the question I posed to the chat, how many more days is Matt Gaetz in Congress? Do you think he resigns imminently? Are we saying bye-bye to Matt Gaetz?
Democrat is calling on me to be removed from the House Judiciary Committee. And I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible...
Well, remember, we had the report come out yesterday that he was getting ready to accept a position with Newsvax and that he was wanting to resign. So I don't know that he wouldn't get out of there. They should remove him from the Judiciary Committee. If somebody is under investigation for child sex trafficking, I do not think they should be seated on the Judiciary Committee. I'm thinking Friday. Usually shit like that. But like, this is perfect though. If he's doing the QAnon thing and he's giving them a story in which he's actually the good guy, that he was going undercover, that's what Trump did. This is what religions do. They rip each other off. He's ripping off the other cult leader. I don't know that Newsmax wouldn't still want him. It doesn't make any, nothing makes any sense. What were they extorting him for? If the investigation started under Trump, who Gaetz was in good with, how is a Biden administration official trying to extort him? But here, this is one of the excellent parts of this interview.
Democrat is calling on me to be removed from the House Judiciary Committee. And I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like. You know the pain it can bring to your family, and you know how it just puts people on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful. But it did not happen. It is not true. And the fact that it is the basis of this attempt to extort my family tells a lot. And if the FBI and Department of Justice will release the tapes that they are in possession of, the American people will see what is really going on.
He's seething right now. Do you guys want to go back? Do you want to see like that exact moment?
And awful, but it did not happen. It is not true. And the fact that it is the basis of this attempt to extort my family tells a lot. And if the FBI and Department of Justice will release the tapes that they are in possession of, the American people will see what is really going on.
Yes. The McGee guy is in private practice now. He is not involved with the government in any way. He was a former DOJ staffer. So I don't know what he's talking about with the FBI. Let's go back to him implicating Tucker.
What I am troubled by is and I believe that's why this horrible information and these terrible allegations have been used this evening.
So and I'll get to the investigation in a sec, but you're saying that David McGee was motivated by greed. He was trying to extort money from your family. That's his motivation, you're saying?
I know that there was a demand for money in exchange for a commitment that he could make this investigation go away along with his co-conspirators. They even claimed to have specific connections inside the Biden White House. Now, I don't know if that's true. They were promising that Joe Biden would pardon me. Obviously, I don't need a pardon. I'm not seeking a pardon. I have not done anything improper or wrong. But what I am troubled by is the real motivation for all of this. You know, just tonight, Ted Lieu, a Democrat, is calling on me to be removed from the House Judiciary Committee.
Yes!
And I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not.
He did a good job of staying pretty stone faced right there, but look at that brow.
You know what this feels like. You know the pain it can bring to your family, and you know how it just puts people.
He was like not blinking, and now he's like blinked several times. Like, oh my, can't
on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful, but it did not happen. It is not true. And the fact that it is the basis of this attempt to extort my family.
Oh, and he's not done dragging Tucky down with him.
Will release the tapes that they are in possession of. The American people will see what is really going on.
Yes, please release these tapes. I would love to hear these tapes, but these are part of an ongoing investigation. This was a Trump tactic that he did. Trump was like, and he would release his transcripts that proved he was guilty, and then been like, I release the transcripts. What's going on? Like, Gaetz knows they're not going to release the tapes. And they're probably incriminating anyway. So if he calls for releasing the tapes, it makes him look like he's innocent. He's going on attack. This is like alt-right 101. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's trying to go on the attack and put them on the defensive. He probably shouldn't attack Tucker, though.
You just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago. And of course, it was not true. I never met the person. But I do agree with you that being accused falsely is one of the worst things that can happen, and you do see it a lot. Let's go back to the investigation. You say that it was or is underway. There was an investigation. What is the basis of that investigation? What is the allegation? That's really not very clear from these news stories.
Yes, tell us.
Yeah, again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times.
Exactly.
I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme.
Tucker went out to dinner with one of the witnesses in this shit. Oh, my God. And Gaetz calls him out on it on his own show. Oh my God. Gaetz is fucking stupid.
That she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people.
He's a lawyer too, isn't he?
Who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. And I'm just troubled that
he totally just admitted he paid for flights and hotel rooms. But apparently his defense were, well, they were all legal. So now the question is, okay, if he was dating a 17-year-old, did he only have sex with her in states where it was legal? Because that's exactly because like the legal age of consent in Kentucky is 16. But that's what sex trafficking is. That's what the charge is. You know, if you flew her over state lines in order to have sex with her, that's sex trafficking. That's exactly what you're charged with. He is a fucking lawyer. Jesus Christ. This man is a lawyer. He should know better than to go on TV and incriminate himself.
Lack of any sort of legitimate investigation into me would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But I would like to know who. So they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl.
And this is the second time Tucker's had to deny something and walk something back on his own show. I do not know the underage girl I had dinner with you.
Who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who are they? Who is this girl? What are they talking about at the New York Times?
The person doesn't exist. I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old. That is totally false.
You could have been a Republican so easy. It is so fucking easy to be a Republican. And literally being a white man, or if you are a some kind of identity that you can sell out and they can exploit, they'll take you in a heartbeat. If you're a black man that'll wear a Confederate flag, holy shit, you can roll in the money. Look at Dave Rubin. All he had to do was say, oh, hey, I'm gay and I used to be a liberal. They've gone too far with the cancel culture. Boom. $4 million house. Goddamn mediocre Dave Rubin.
The allegation is I read it in the New York Times.
I encourage everybody, run for office. Run for office as Republicans. If you're listening to my show, run for office as a Republican. What the fuck is it going to hurt? Like, remember the trans lady that ran for sheriff as a Republican? She fucking she won the primary. Do it. Fuck the Republican Party up. Let's take them out. That's what I may very well run for Congress, and I might not do it as a Democrat. I might very well do it as a Republican, because fuck it.
In some relationship.
Go back a little bit. I've been talking over
Sort
Matt.
of legitimate investigation into me would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But I would like to know who. So they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who are they? Who is this girl? What are they talking about? The New York Times.
The person doesn't exist. I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old. That is totally false. The allegation, as I read it in the New York Times, is that I've traveled with some.
And just so you know, his buddy that he was involved with was making fake IDs for girls.
17-year-old in some relationship. That is false, and records will bear that out.
So maybe he's going to claim that he didn't know that she was 17.
How long has this investigation been going on? Do you know?
I don't know.
When were you first informed of it?
Again, I really saw this as a deeply troubling challenge for my family.
I don't know the girl they're saying I'm with, but
were,
we went to dinner with her.
Talking about a minor, and that there were pictures of me with child prostitutes. That's obviously false. There will be no such pictures because no such thing happened. But really on March 16th was when this got going from the extortion standpoint.
So what happens next? I mean, you can see there is this investigation, I guess a criminal investigation. I'm not quite sure where the sex trafficking part comes in. I don't, again, for the fifth time, I don't really understand this story very well. But where does it go?
I want to reiterate, I'm not involved in it, despite what Matt Gaetz said.
Name on the air and accused him of trying to extort millions of dollars from your family. What happens tomorrow?
Well, what was supposed to happen was the transfer of this money that would have implicated the former colleague of these current DOJ officials. But that's obviously not going to happen tomorrow because the New York Times story.
So there was supposed to be a drop today.
That investigative effort. So here's what needs to happen next. The FBI and the Department of Justice must release the tapes that are in their possession that were done at their direction. Those tapes will show that I am innocent and that the whole concept of sex charges against me was really just a way to try to bleed my family out of money and probably smear my name because I am.
Yeah, down payment. That doesn't make any sense, does it?
I guess that's out of style in a lot of parts of the country right now.
Matt Gaetz, I appreciate your coming on tonight.
Thanks for giving me the chance to tell the truth, Tucker. I appreciate it.
It's a more interesting and complicated story than I knew from reading about it. Thank you very much. Matt Gaetz interview, that was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted. That story just appeared.
I bet.
A couple of hours ago. And on the certainty that there's always more than you read in the newspaper, we immediately called Matt Gaetz and asked him to come on and tell us more, which, as you saw, he did.
Look at this smile on his face. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is after, I think this was after a commercial break or something.
Matt Gaetz interview, that was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted. That story just appeared in the news a couple of hours ago. And on the certainty that there's always more than you read in the newspaper, we immediately called Matt Gaetz and asked him to come on and tell us more, which, as you saw, he did. I think that clarified much, but it certainly showed this is a deeply interesting story, and we'll be following it. Don't quite understand it, but we'll bring.
Oh, Jesus.